What's up guys, Danielle here, NeutralSupport.net. Last week a lot of you saw the Chain Tool Gauntlet and we saw the BSC tool come out on top. Well-deserved, super high quality tool. Then a bunch of people said, who the heck is BSC?
I don't know that.
That's something we're going to change. I get a lot of flack for pushing things like enduro tools or talking about Abby tools just because they seem decadently priced. They work well, they function well, but they also cost so much money that a lot of people don't find them accessible. For that reason, we're going to talk about BSC because they'll give you tons of options for tools. They've even made some changes that are functionally superior to some of the other options, all for less money. Let's take a look.
Let's get ready to rumble!
You already know and love the Chain Tool from BSC from the Gauntlet. On the table, you'll see these are all tools that other companies also make. So BSC did not invent any of these tools, but they did make new, innovative, cool versions of a lot of things. We'll start with this lever height adapter. Abby, 2 sea otters ago, released their lever setter. I did a little spot on that. You can watch that video and I used it so that you can see how it works. But essentially, you thread a derailleur hanger alignment tool into this spot after threading this in where the top cap goes. Then you're able to use the alignment tool to each lever or shifter to make sure that you get the angle right, the distance right, etc. One thing that BSC decided to do that Abby did not was actually put this slot here. So this slot is a tape measure slot. So you can actually put a tape here and measure out to what you were doing, which is actually a really cool feature because the derailleur hanger alignment gauge, you just kind of have to base it on tightening it and maybe moving it over to the other side. With this, you can actually measure one bike and then measure to the other bike without doing anything crazy. So that's a really nice feature that they added to this tool. It's got nice knurling, it's got nice anodization. Another thing is this bolt isn't a through bolt, it's actually a stud into the tool. So you don't have to worry about that coming out or pushing through. It all just tightens as you tighten this down. So a really good version of this tool, a really great idea. Also, this tool is only 30 bucks from BSC, but it's 37 from Abby. So 7 less bucks, also get an additional feature to the tool. I don't actually have an equivalent to this tool. This is an axle remover. It kind of reminds me of the bushing replacement tool from Wheels Manufacturing for shocks. I thought it was a nice idea, a little anvil here, so you can actually just put this in the end, whack it with a hammer, and get the axle out. It's set to the right thickness, so you don't have to worry about doing anything crazy. I thought that was a neat little tool, not too fancy, but perfect. Every company feels the need to make one of these. This is the Preload tool for a Shimano crank. Typically the preload is like a Newton meter and a half, so I'm always laughing that these tools keep getting made even though it seems like we've already solved this problem. That said, this one's way prettier than the Park for about the same price. The Park tool is like 16 bucks, this is $15.50. Or you can do something crazy like get an enduro one where they tell you the spec for the torque on the bearings, but still the same thing. Big old wrench flats, a big socket as if you were gonna need that to get the low bearing torque. They do say with the XD15 that you need to get that preload to 5 to 7 Newton meters. I've never actually installed one, but getting that plastic cap that tight, I'm curious what that would do. The Enduro is 39 bucks, the Abby is 26 bucks. So you can get this for essentially the same price as the Park tool one, and it looks a little cooler. You might not lose it. I've lost this tool many times. This is probably like the 8th one I've had. This handle, you'll recognize it because it is the one that's on the Chain Tool. Essentially, you can buy this handle just to have a 1/4 inch driver and store bits in the handle, which I thought was neat. It's a really good idea, nice and compact, and I do really like the way that this handle feels, mostly because it's also the one that's on the nipple driver, and the nipple driver is a clone of one of my favorite tools. So the BSC nipple driver here, this is actually the fancy one. So if you look here, there's a stud that you can loosen so that you can adjust the height of the actual needle. So you can drive nipples into a custom height, whatever you want. But this is essentially a clone of one of my favorite tools from Bicycle Research, which was just the nipple driver. I've used these forever, and this company doesn't exist anymore. So the ability to get this, which is essentially the same tool, if very close, with a little bit of a cool update, they feel remarkably similar. But I love this tool. I love this handle. So the ability to have this handle just for a tool, the ability to have it on your chain tool, and then also to have a nipple driver with an adjustable needle on it is pretty dang neat. I don't really have a good comparison for cost for this, since the Bicycle Research one that it's close to doesn't exist anymore, but it's only 55 bucks, so that's not bad at all. So another wheel building tool that BSC offers is essentially a combination of the EBT mole finger and the tool from Noble Wheels that does the same thing. So the Noble Wheels one has a bearing on the back of it. The mole finger has this knurling. So that's the sort of the combination of the two in this tool. I've been using the EBT mole finger for a long time, and it's significantly shorter. What's nice about this tool is you can actually rest this in the palm of your hand and turn, which I'm really growing to like more and more these days, having the bearing on the back. As a comparison, the Noble Wheels version of this tool is 55 bucks. The mole finger is 16 bucks, so super affordable. And then the combination of the two from BSC is 35 bucks. So it's definitely somewhere in the middle of the two in terms of economy. Top cap sockets. BSC offers a good selection of these. They fall kind of in the middle of the industry standards. So Fox offers some at $25 a piece, Abby offers some at $26 a piece, and BSC's are $27.50. They are different colors, which is nice. They have the knurling like the Fox tool does. I really appreciate the feel that the Fox socket caps have in your hand. It's essentially the same exact feel as this tool, and they offer it in multiple sizes for suspension work. The BSC Travel Chain Whip is pretty much the Wolf Tooth chain whip. So Wolf Tooth makes a skinny travel one. The difference is that the Wolf Tooth actually gets pretty fat on the end. This is incredibly low profile. So it's skinny. It's also pretty thin this way. So it makes a good on-the-go chain whip. I'm not a huge fan of travel chain whips in general, but this is super lightweight and would be easy to carry in a pack. It also has a rotor truing slot here, so it's a multi-function tool for sure. Feels good. If you're looking for something that travels light, this is a really good choice. So this is one of the best deals that BSC offers, and that is the press fit bottom bracket removal tool. So this actually removes basically every combination of bottom bracket that you can think of in a press fit sense without hammering. There are multiple versions of this tool, one of which is the Enduro tool. To give you an example, this tool does all of the bottom bracket types, and it costs 210 bucks. The Enduro tool, this is the BRT 003. This costs 209 bucks, but you actually need two of them to cover all of the tools. So it's essentially twice the cost to get the Enduro. It is fancy and decadent, but it does exactly the same job as this tool at half the cost. Still super nice, made in a cool kit, sits in the drawer nice. These kind of roll around too. They're hard to keep in the drawer without foam or something. They are very nice tools and I do enjoy them, but if I could have this tool that is compact, does the job, doesn't cost me a fortune, why not just get the BSC? So a lot of companies make these tools to adapt a through axle for a truing stand. Abby makes one, I have it. It actually uses a stepped cone instead of a smooth cone to tighten down on the axle. They work very similarly. It's a threaded rod with two ends. So you can set a through axle wheel into a truing stand without worrying about using the rounded caps that Park provides. When you use the rounded caps, the axle doesn't necessarily sit perfectly square, but when you use one of these tools, you get the wheel perfectly square in your truing stand, so you don't have to worry about the dish being off or things that are weird like that. The difference in cost between these tools, the Abby is actually 53 bucks, whereas the BSC is only 30 bucks. So again, if you have access to both, I don't see an advantage to buying the Abby over the BSC when the BSC does everything that you need it to do. So I've saved one of my favorite things for last, even though it seems like it wouldn't be super exciting, and that is these free hub drifts. we all know that free hub bodies and axles and things have those dumb sleeves inside of them. And they're not dumb, they do a job, but they're hard when you're trying to set bearings because the sleeve will get off center a little bit, and then you have to try to align it so that the axle will fit through, all that good stuff. So the BSC tool actually has this conical surface here that goes through the bearing, so that as you're pushing the bearing in, you are aligning the sleeve between the bearings perfectly. I can't even, like, the amount of time that you must save just pushing in a bearing and having everything be lined up by just having this little detail. I'm just really impressed that BSC would make an innovative change like that to a bearing drift. So there's a whole set of these, and they're only like $16.50 and saves you the hassle of all this stuff. So in terms of machining quality, I actually have some examples. So this is an Enduro bearing press, and this is a Wheels Manufacturing bearing press. So they're all made a little bit differently. The Enduro sits pretty deep, but it doesn't have the cone, so you can see that from the race. It doesn't have the alignment cone in it. The BSC has an additional feature on it, that is the outer race gets contacted by this tool, but there's a ridge so that it only pushes on the outer race and doesn't necessarily push on the seal itself. If you look at the Wheels Manufacturing bearing press tool, it's shallower. You can see the finish quality on these is very, very similar. So the fact that BSC is able to achieve machining results this high quality, it actually has better finishing than the Enduro, which is surprising to me, considering Enduro is such a big company and they have a lot of resources. So it's hard to show you the machine finish quality without you physically touching them. So when you machine something, the tooling makes a difference, the speed makes a difference, and the speed of cutting also influences the finish and the cost. So running a machine longer costs more, but cutting at a different speed might make the finish better. So companies are always trying to find a balance between the finish being good, but it not costing a ton of money. So when you touch these tools physically, the BSC and the Wheels Manufacturing tool have the same very good finish, very soft, not a lot of visible ridges in it, which is something that you would see in a cheaply machined tool. The Enduro tool actually has worse machining than both the Wheels and the BSC tools, which is surprising. It still works as a tool. It's just that they maybe cut this a little too fast or tried to save some money, and the machining just isn't as nice. All of BSC's other bearing tools that are like this, their presses, they're all made with this same quality. They're all made with sort of innovation in mind. So if you want to get a press tool, I would highly recommend checking out the BSC options that are also out there that I don't have on the table. So there you have it. BSC is a recent addition into my life, but I'm glad that it made it in because they are making some awesome stuff that is totally worth checking out. Thank you for watching. I hope that this video helps you. If you're overwhelmed by super expensive tools or underwhelmed by the low quality of the less expensive tools, BSC will really fill that gap. A high quality tool for less money, pretty innovative, and they're doing some really cool things. So check them out. If you're in the United States, the best place to get BSC tools is pedalingtools.com. They are the domestic distributor of BSC here. If you're outside of the US, you can order directly from BSC. Save yourself a bunch of money, get some good tools, don't break the bank. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. It'll tell you every time I put one out. Head over to Nutrisport.net. We've got cool swag, hats, aprons, shirts, things that help keep the channel going. When I can't get tools that I can borrow or get given tools, I end up just buying them. So that helps keep the channel going, helps me make the content, and I really appreciate it. As always, hope you have a good day.